Okay, we are live as usual from a dark corner of my office. It is very early morning here in Norway, and I've just finished my writing for the day. I'm going to talk about something that seems to trigger a lot of people, especially people from the USA, for some reason. Um, but it is interesting, and I have looked into this topic now, and well, I've done it before as well, and I'm just going to give it a few seconds now before I get into the matter. Um, Hi there, Jennifer. Hi there, Jen. Um, KP Heathen, good to see you. Now, if you're a reading person, you will recognize my little play with words in the title. Richard Dawkins, he has this book that is called The Gun Delusion. And hey presto, I managed to provoke even some of the Christians as well, which is, let's see if we can provoke both the Bible thumpers and well, let's keep going. Let's keep moving. Okay. Yeah, people are joining, and I will say that thank you for subscribing to the channel. You will have to subscribe to the channel to be in the chat. So first of all, and I need to make this very clear, I do support the right to bear arms. Now, I I don't know if I should have to repeat this, but I'm not saying, and some people will have a problem with me saying this, but I'll just have to. I can't really help you guys because I'm saying it straight out, okay? I'm not here to say that they should take away your guns. That's not what I'm saying, okay? What I'm saying is the following. The Second Amendment is not a guarantee for freedom, okay? And this can be proven actually. So I'll say it again. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is not a guarantee for freedom. And I will add to that the USA is not the most free nation on earth, not by any measure. That's a myth and it's a lie. And let me also say, and this is a personal theory of mine, I believe that American politicians are using this myth to get support in the population. I will say that American politicians know very well that as long as they guarantee that the population in the USA will keep their guns, then they can just keep taking away your freedoms, which they have been doing for a long time. So, if the Second Amendment was a guarantee for freedom, surely the USA would have been at least among, let's say, the top 5 freest countries on the planet, but it's not. And we saw that quite clearly during COVID. Compare the USA to Sweden or Norway. I mean, people in the USA had to tolerate an abuse of power during the lockdowns and during, I mean, it was cruel and horrible to watch. It's I'm seeing a lot of people writing the same old phrases here. This is the time where you need to kind of open your mind a little bit. If it was true that the Second Amendment guarantees the First, then why doesn't it? Okay, so I will give you some statistics now, okay? I will repeat what I said. I do support the Second Amendment, but you must not believe that it is a guarantee for freedom. While your politicians are saying that, oh, guns, 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 and Second Amendment, they are taking away all the other freedoms. Please, can't you see that? I mean, okay, let me give you some statistics here. Now, first, this is quite a respected one. It's the World Population Review. I'm looking over here at another screen. And it is the Freedom Index by country. And they are using 82 indicators. And the categories they are using here are the following. And this is for the Human Freedom Index: rule of law, security and safety, movement, that would be freedom of movement, religion, that would be religious freedom. For instance, if you live in an Islamic state, you do not have religious freedom, you know. And let's move on. Association, assembly, and civil society, expression and information, identity and relationships. For instance, the classic example is if someone is gay and they live in a country where it's illegal to be gay, that's not that would be score very low there, you know, on that that in that category. Size of government. A very large government is almost a guarantee for less freedom. That's my personal opinion. Legal system and property rights. For instance, and I see this all the time. People are saying, "Oh, you think you own your house? Ha ha! You don't own your house. Oh, do you pay property tax? It's not your house." Well, not all countries are the same. There are countries where you do not pay property tax, and for instance, in Norway, in some of the counties, parts of Norway, you do not pay property tax. Let's move on. Access to sound money, freedom to trade internationally, regulation. Okay, let's see here who's top 10. Okay, that was 2021, and this changed, I will say, because of COVID, because some of these countries, I'm thinking about Canada and Ireland and New Zealand, it appears that they were not so free after all. But still, there is something that you should pay notice to here. Number 1, Switzerland. Number 2, New Zealand. Again, this is 2021. 3, Denmark. 4, Estonia. 5, Ireland. 6, Canada. 7, Finland. 8, Australia. 9, Sweden. 10, Luxembourg. And the 10 countries with the lowest human freedom index are: number 1, Syria; 2, Venezuela; 3, Yemen; 4, Sudan; 5, Egypt; 6, Iran; 7, Somalia; 8, Burundi; 9, Iraq; 10, Libya. Norway is number 13. United States is number 15. Did you hear that? The United States, with all its guns, is number 15. Interestingly enough, a country like Switzerland, where there is also lots and lots of guns, with a very liberal gun laws, is number one. Um, but all the countries in between there have more restrictive gun laws. Um, now, and if you did not know, it is not true that I see people writing, and this and that is happening to Europe because they took away your guns. I don't know where you. I hope they don't teach that in schools because it's not true. You know, like in Norway, there are guns everywhere. Like, but we don't carry guns like a hand. You can't go around carrying a handgun. But in rural Norway, there are guns in almost every house. So let's move over to another ranking here. This is the which one? Let's see if we can find what's the name of this one. Where is it? Sorry. There are several of these rankings. Yeah, this is an US based non governmental organization, Freedom House. They have their ranking Freedom in the World. And they are ranking, let's see here if we can find it's by alphabet here, in alphabetical order. Sorry, I should know the alphabet. Yeah, the United States has there are three different numbers here. 86, 86, 83. That's 2019, 2020, 2021. I don't have access to the 2022 numbers right now. Let's compare it to Norway. Because I'm Norwegian, so I find that interesting. 100, 100, 100. So, again, I support the right to bear arms. Personally, I think it is a bad idea to allow everyone to carry a handgun because there are lots of crazy people out there. Okay. If you think about it, I think it's a bad idea. But that's something that should be discussed and talked about without prejudice, I think. I'll put the links in the video description, okay, after this. I have no. I would be okay with whatever solution, whatever rules that work best, you know. And I'm thinking especially about women, their women's ability to defend themselves. So I hate the whole gun debate because it is not based on facts, it's based on emotions. I don't like that. Let's just look at what works. Let's throw away the myths. But that's not what this live stream is about. I'm just saying that having guns, and the Second Amendment in the USA is clearly not a guarantee for freedom. If it was, you wouldn't be having all this censorship in social media. You wouldn't have locked down most of the states into this dystopian nightmare like you did. when countries with less guns, less liberal gun laws, like Norway and Sweden, yes, I will admit that there are lots of guns there, of course, but we can't carry handguns around. Okay, still, we were not locked down like that. So that's one example, and clearly in the USA, I will also say that, and this is something that you're not supposed to say on social media. I'm risking my entire channel saying this, so I'll try to be careful. I think the last election showed that you have a little bit of a problem with the democratic process. My personal opinion, just a hunch, just a feeling that I have. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me get to. No, hold on. I have something more to say. Now, I will criticize the statistics here. As someone who have actually studied statistics in university, as part of my business and administration education, I will say that if I didn't say so already, a lot of this changed after COVID. And I do not know if these the different factors that go into these statistics, I do not know how they adjust for what was being done during COVID, or if they do that at all. I don't know, and I do not have access to 2022 2022 numbers. But there seems to be a trend here, and quite clearly, like Ireland appeared to be a country with not much respect for individual freedom, because it was practically a testing ground for. Let's not get into the COVID thing. Okay. So what I've said now really should not provoke anyone. I know it will. I am just trying to say that, yes, Second Amendment, I do support the Second Amendment. I think that it should not result in completely liberal gun laws, so that, let's say, someone who is a convicted murderer and robber and drug dealer should be allowed to carry a gun. I do not think that's a good idea. Maybe that's just me being boring here, but that's just me. It's my opinion. Okay. So on if you flip the coin, is that the they can't legally get one. That is good to know. Let's flip the coin a little bit, if that's the right expression. If you live in an urban area with a crime problem, and you're a woman, I think you should have a gun. And I think that my personal opinion is that I think you should legally be able to carry a handgun with you everywhere. That's my opinion on that. And I will. So, yeah, there are people informing me that those criminals, they can't get a gun. That is good to know. That is good to know. Jeff says, I think if you did a violent crime, even if you served your time, you should never be allowed to have a firearm again. Yes, absolutely. Well, self-defense will be different, right? So let's see here. Now, there is something else that goes into this, of course, and it's the thing. This is a good argument from the gun lobby. It's that if guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. It's a good saying, and I think it's very true. Um, in Norway, and now I'm going to get a little bit emotional because it did not affect me directly, but yeah, I know of people who lost their children. They were killed. Um, Breivik, the murders, the mass murderer Breivik, he clearly, well, he had illegal guns, you know, and that was a mass killing. I don't know if it's the worst in in many years happening in Norway. Um, so yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but clearly making guns illegal will not deter criminals and murderers from getting guns. But the interesting question is, will more restricted access to guns reduce gun violence? Will it or will it not? Again, I think there are two things that goes into that. First, if it does reduce it, is it still morally right to take away people's right to carry guns or not? I think that that woman living in a city with lots of crime should still be allowed to carry a gun. But anyway, um, okay, let's tidy up the chat a little bit. So, let's scroll down. I haven't really looked at the chat. But if you have the name of a narcotic in your nickname and you support carrying a gun, I'm probably going to ban you from this channel. Just, you know. So, Primal Werewolf says, if you worry about crazy people, focus on mental health and family health, the core issues. That's part of it, absolutely. Easy access to drugs is another one. But there is also, and I'm talking now about a country where there was a recent mass shooting. And I think that it is childish and foolish not to be able to even talk about the question of guns and access to guns. Because clearly that is part of it. We could now, I don't have access right now to the statistics on gun violence per country right now. But I'm pretty sure that the USA ranks very, very high on that in those statistics. But again, is it right to take guns away because of that, or not? Again, I think ideology should be taken out of the question here. And I think we should just look at what works and what does not work while maintaining while thinking about at the same time that we need to maintain people's right and ability to defend themselves. Because it is easy for me to, I'm sitting here in rural Norway, there is no violence here where I live. I mean, well, maybe domestic violence that I don't know, but it's like, it's not like in the movies, I see the, the gangs and crime in the movies. That's the closest I get to that kind of crime, where I live. So it's easy for me to say I get that. And Neverett is saying, as an elderly woman, I carry. I can understand that. Yeah. So again, it's like I'm not here to point my finger at anyone, but my main point here in this live stream is that the right to carry arms does not guarantee freedom. I would guess, and I have a feeling that it is being used by your politicians so that you will be clutching your guns. Sorry, I'm a little bit. You can take a joke, we're all adults here. You will be clutching all your guns while they are taking away all your other freedoms. And then you will be saying, oh, it's the guarantee for freedom of expression and free property rights and everything. Well, and then they take it away. Then what are you going to do? Are you doing anything? Did you do anything when they... No, I can't really finish that sentence here on YouTube, but, I think you get... Drew says, not funny. Well, I think it's funny. I'm sorry about that, Drew. I'll say it again. You'll be clutching your guns like this while they take all your other rights away and your other freedoms away. And you'll be shouting Second Amendment, and you will be pointing at me in Europe and saying that, well, they took away your guns. That's why you're being flooded with immigrants. One, Norway is not being flooded with immigrants. Two, nobody took away our guns. That never happened. Thank you, Moose99709. Thanks a lot. That's wonderful. So, Moose99709 says, as a disabled person, I carry in Texas. Yeah, again, it's something that seems sensible, because these people, these evil people, criminals, they are just evil, and if they see someone who could be robbed and become a victim, they will, New country guys and so on says, sometimes we need guns to protect ourselves from our own damn people. Best not to live in a place with many criminals. Yes, I agree. I agree. It's yeah, let's move on. Yeah, what happened in Maine, it is... I need to be careful talking about that out of respect to the people who were killed and their loved ones. I do not know exactly what happened. So far, we only have the information here from mainstream media, and I never trust that, especially not when it comes to emotional topics like this one. I'm interested in facts, not emotions. Let's see here. Yeah, well, let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, we should never trust mainstream media, and we should never trust alternative media. We should never trust anyone who is giving you secondhand information. That's why proper journalists, they fact check, and they follow a set of rules, right? Not talking about the CNN journalists and things like that, but as a journalist, you need to follow. There are actually rules that a journalist needs to follow. If you have information from one source, that's not good enough. So it's like if someone sent me an email with a claim of something, and people sometimes do, and then I made a video presenting that as fact. I would never do that. I would never do that because that's unethical, and I need to follow these journalistic guidelines, even though I'm not a journalist, but I still need to follow those. Unless we're just here chatting and about things. But if I present some news or something like that, then I need to follow these guidelines. So yeah, and also be aware of. I've said it at least once before. Be aware, and I guess you have know this, but most of you hopefully. But be aware of these YouTube channels, Rumble channels, where they give you the truth, and they sit there in their suits in front of a green screen so that it looks like a news room and a news desk, and they give you the truth. And they certainly have an agenda. Now, I don't have proof for this, but looking at the views that they are getting, looking at how their videos are, the curves, and looking at all of that, I'm pretty sure they have funding and they pay for the views. Why do they have funding? Well, because someone is gaining from that. So it is just like with mainstream media. Alternative media is no different. I hope that people can see that. So also concerning firearms, Naomi, thanks. They're a good pointer. Yeah, well, I will not, because I do not have proof for this. I can only look at the curves, not the trends, but the curves of their videos. I'm pretty sure that those views it's unnatural. The curves are not natural, so they are paid for. But anyway, how many? Let's take the USA as an example, because I don't know about Switzerland, which would be the other obvious example to use because of all the guns there. But let's use the USA. There are, because of the time of the day and so on, mostly people from the USA here, I guess. How many? What percentage of people in the USA who own a gun are actually training with that gun on a regular basis. Okay, sorry, I didn't see your super chat. Let's see here. I can. What about knives and pepper gas? Well, I'm not sure what you mean, but laws concerning that, I think pepper gas is not legal in Norway. Knives, I'm carrying a knife on a daily basis. It's I have a folding knife in my pocket, and I've never been asked by police to show them if I have a knife or something like that. And I often carry a knife on my belt. But I have asked my connections to the police in my family, and they are telling me that if they see someone with a Friday night in the city center with a zombie killer knife, something like that, they will take that knife. But if you're like in a rural area, you have a bushcraft knife on your belt, they will not take your knife. That's what I've been told. Yeah, so training with guns. Now, I do archery, and I know this. There are times when I have not been doing archery, and when I go back to the archery range, I'm terrible. So you need. I guess the same goes for shooting. And if you don't train with it, I suspect it could be more of a problem than a safety for you. So, yeah, I guess you don't have okay, Michael says I'd say 40% don't, 60% don't, 40% trained, 60% don't. Is that numbers that you know are true, or is it a guess? But it should be 100%. I think that, and again, just a personal opinion of mine, having a gun, well, I think that if you have a gun, you should be required to do training. And if you do not show up and do some training on a regular basis, or it could be some kind of test, once a year or something, then you should not be allowed to have that gun. Why am I saying that? Because if you're really crappy at shooting and you get into a violent situation, and you start shooting, you don't know how to aim, you don't know how to use your gun, you're not familiar with your handgun that you have chosen to carry, then you could end up missing, maybe killing someone else, right? Again, that's my personal opinion. Training should be required. But, and here's let's put the tinfoil hats on, or maybe not so much, but just a little bit, because I just got an idea. Is it like maybe your politicians, they will happily say that guns, Second Amendment, but maybe they would not be so happy with having an entire population who can actually use those guns, who are training on a regular basis. Because that would be a force to reckon with. I don't know. it's just a little bit of a tinfoil hat moment here. Okay. Yeah, well, free of charge. Yeah, Jerry. Yes, maybe it should be, because you could. I'm always a little bit careful. Everything that is free, it's not free because the taxpayer will pay for it. But yeah, but it should be accessible to everyone. At least it should be very cheap, I guess. And then, I think it's a good idea, because then also you could have some kind of reporting system. If, let's say, someone comes in clearly insane with a gun, then maybe the instructor should then report that person, so it could be followed up. Like, I'm talking about someone who, like, is a ticking bomb, you know. Just an idea. Good point there, step down and NL. Also, sometimes the fact of having a gun is already effective enough in self-defense. It does not have to be used or even have bullets in it. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a good point. I still think that you should be able to use it in an efficient way if you have to. So Moose says you have to be screened and trained in Texas. Well, that's good to know. I will give you some information about guns in Norway, because I do not like the way it's done here. So we don't really have a gun culture here. Well, thank you, Real Perrier. That's very kind of you. Thanks a lot. We don't really have a gun culture here. We have a hunting culture, and I hate the Norwegian, or, well, Scandinavian hunting culture, because it's disgusting. And guns being so common here, I should say rifles and shotguns being so common here, and not having a gun culture, that's not a good combination. And I'm using the term gun culture as something that would be about safety and respecting that weapon. And I'll tell you, every hunting season, there are accidents. And accidents that probably have to do with drinking. After the hunting season, I go up into the woods here, and I tidy up, because at the campsites there will be beer bottles, liquor bottles, and trash. It's never there at other times of the year. So when you combine drinking and shooting, and yeah, it's disgusting. Uh, um, Odin Andrews says any amount of alcohol with use of a firearm is a crime here. That's good. That's how it should be. Trinity Matrix. Well, you should know. You should know. No, well, you should know. No, yeah. Well, trying to hide that. Yeah, Dr. Breinstein. Yeah, they have. I know the assault weapon. What's that? The assault weapon. Can you be more precise? Um, any weapon can be an assault weapon. Is it a fully automatic, semi-automatic? Um, what? Uh, yeah, I suspect that people who are using those terms, they don't know about guns so much. Uh, so, yeah, it's no legal definition. Yeah. Well, I will say also that when it comes to, just to add something here to the discussion, we have in the countries in Europe where there are quite strict gun laws. I think the UK, they have very strict gun laws. Uh, I might be wrong here. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. If there are people from the UK here at this time of the day, is it like it's difficult to get a gun, a proper gun, and you use air rifles instead? Is that true in the UK? And I was just getting to that primal werewolf, and then instead you have knife crime in the UK. So these people, they will just use what is available to them, and what the knife crime thing in the UK has led to is that they are trying to restrict people's ability to carry knives, which is so stupid. I don't even know where to begin, because now I've done a little bit of knife fighting in my martial arts background, not like stupid, silly stuff, but more like the military stuff. And it's like some of the best knives for that can be found in your at your kitchen, actually. Um, it's not difficult to find knives that are for not for carving but for meat, if you think about it. Yeah, it cuts meat, exactly. You know, and it's like they are not banning that, but they are trying to ban like bushcraft knives, which are for things like woodworking. It's 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 hilarious what they're doing there, and um, yeah. So while the criminals, they will get knives anyway. If they can't get hold of knives, they can just go to a kitchen store uh, and buy some knives there. You know. Um, so uh, let's see here. Yeah, I do agree that the UK has become very unfree. Yeah, really extra special case. I have not heard about that, but I will read your comment. I'm sure you heard of the Scottish guy who got arrested for just after he bought a potato peeler, an assault potato peeler. Yeah, okay. Um, okay. A sharp full-time knife is best. A Scandi grind is best. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep this. Oh, hi there, Jen. I was just going to say I'm going to keep it somewhat short, but it's already 49 minutes. Um, some people, the trolls, they say, "Oh, you talk for an hour about this, and you could have said it in one sentence." Yeah, but we're having a conversation here, and I and it's nice to have a conversation about these things, and also sometimes you need to talk a little bit about things instead of just being dogmatic and about it. This is a discussion, absolutely. Um, yeah, we are Jadstar 1. I think at this point, the state has become an enemy of the people. I don't like saying that, but clearly that must be the case. I mean, well, if you agree with what the state does, then it's all wonderful, isn't it? But if you disagree, you're in trouble. So, yeah. Um, okay. So let me just summarize here. I will say that the reason for the title of this live stream and what I'm trying to get across here is that, well, I'm a little bit annoyed by these comments, and I've seen them for years. Oh, this is happening to you in Europe because they took away your guns, and the USA is the most free country on the planet. None of that is true, and quite clearly, the USA is a wonderful country. I'd like to visit more and see more of the USA. But it is not a very free country compared to, for instance, the Scandinavian countries. It's not. And what I'm saying, and this is my personal theory here, is that I think your politicians have been playing this trick for quite some time now. They will say, especially the Republicans, and also there's the matter of following the money from the weapons industry and so on. It doesn't only apply to wars, but also in the gun industry there. But they will say that Second Amendment, right to bear arms and freedom and God bless America and all that. They did the whole thing. You've heard that kind of speech 100 times, I guess. And while they do that, they are taking away your other freedoms. And they clearly have done. And they did it during COVID. And they keep doing it. So, how is it that anyone can still live in that delusion that guns and your Second Amendment is guaranteeing your freedom? Because it's not. Why has the USA become so unfree? If that was true, you know, clearly that cannot be the case. And also, I've said I do support the Second Amendment, the right to defend yourself, the right to carry arms. But there must be some limitations there, like someone who is a violent criminal should not be able to have guns. And now I understand that that is actually the rule in many or most or all states in the USA. So, yeah. Okay. So again, I want to thank all the good people here in the chat. I think that this was a wonderful live stream. Yeah, and thank you, Jen, for reminding me and all the other people here. Consider subscribing and to my other channels. It's linked in the video description. It's the secret area of YouTube, the video description. So yeah. Okay, I thought this would be like a nightmare. I was questioning myself, shall I talk about this or not? But it was good. We had a good conversation. Okay, wonderful. Have a nice evening or morning, whatever it is, day. And we'll talk soon. Bye bye.